me see. Muggle studies. Muggle studies. No. Muggle studies. Where's the index? Charms. Let's see. Then I need pay. Hold on. Aren't you the new 5th year? I thought so. You were the one that was late for the opening ceremony. And for the sorting hat, right? What? Oh, of course. Sit down. Can I, perhaps help you with something? Oh, certainly. Well, forgive me for not introducing. Hold on. What was it, page? Well, my name is George, and I'm a Ravenclaw 5th year. Yes, just a 5th year like you. And I have probably been at this school way too long. But tell me, how are you enjoying it so far? Well, so as I told you, my name is George, and I usually come down to this little quiet passage to do my homework. Of course, you don't have to worry about homework yet. But I say, so tomorrow is your first class, eh? And how have you been enjoying? By the way, do you mind me asking, why did you join Hogwarts in your 5th year? Why not just like any of the other first years? Well, me, and I think I am speaking for the entire Hogwarts community, are very interested in hearing what is the cause. Oh. Alright. Well, since we're both 5th years, I think that we could do our homework together. If of course you don't mind, for I don't mind. Right. Now, have you got a schedule with you? Oh, you don't. Oh, well. Luckily, I do. Now. Oh, thank you. Yes, I bought it at Hogsmeade. Have you ever been to Hogsmeade? Well, time for chit-chat in about a few minutes, but anyway. Let me see. More books. There we are. Oh wait, this is only the first page. I'm afraid I've lost the second one. Or it simply walked away by itself, you never know. Monday. 8 o'clock, breakfast in the Great Hall. Have you navigated yourself around Hogwarts already? Have you looked here and there to find these secret little hidden passageways like this one? Or are you completely unaware of the fact that it's an entire, well, monstrous castle and that one can get lost very, very easily? Perfect. So, Monday, 8 o'clock, breakfast in the Great Hall. Then, 9 o'clock, charms class, confringo and enhanced practices of Levioso. Now, of course, I reckon that you have little to no experience with the magical side of the project, and with witchcraft and wizardry. Safe to say you have little to none experience with Hogwarts itself. Don't mind. There are a lot of people that are willing to help you. Well, so, charms class, confringo and enhanced practices of Levioso. Levioso is basically a simple levitation charm. Don't have to worry about that. Now, on 10:30, Herbology, the venomous tentacular. Now, have you got a set of Herbology gloves? Because those are very important, especially when handling the venomous tentacular. I'll make a note on that. Do you have a quill? No. There you go. So, Herbology, venomous tentacular. Mind the feather. Herbology, venomous tentacular. Now, the venomous tentacular is this, how am I best to describe it? It's this ginormous flesh-eating plant, and it feeds itself on humans, on animals, on other plants. Basically, it eats everything in its range. So, as I said, Herbology gloves are really of the essence here. Now, finished. Thank you. Now, then, because it's the Headmaster tentacular, there are special courses and special classes that last a little bit longer, and because this is a Headmaster tentacular, that lasts a bit longer. So, an hour and a half later, at 12 o'clock, is lunch in the Great Hall. Oh, of course you did enjoy the feast at your table. The day was sorted. Now, the lunch is extraordinary. I mean, the breakfast to begin with. It's full English breakfast or cornflakes or something else. It's extraordinary. Of course the elves make it. Why? Is that a muggle gossip or something that elves produce the food here? Of course. You know, I've been there sometimes near the Hufflepuff corridors. I have a friend of mine, Robin, she's a Hufflepuff, and, well, of course, sometimes we walk together and then she has to pick something in her common room. Don't mind the backstory. Anyway, near the kitchens is the entrance to the Hufflepuff common room, and sometimes you can see the house elves dragging with a little glass of wine or perhaps something else that they're preparing. The pumpkin juice is extraordinary. You ought to give it a try tomorrow morning. Anyway, lunch in the Great Hall. On 1 o'clock, Defense Against the Dark Arts, refined dueling techniques. Defense Against the Dark Arts is a course that you cannot miss. You might make a note on that too. Defense Against the Dark Arts, refined dueling techniques. So what we will basically be doing is going to practice simple dueling spells, but in a refined way. Now, if I were you, I would come prepared. Have you got a wand? Thankfully. I would be worried if you hadn't brought a wand with you. Now, on the dueling side of Defense Against the Dark Arts, a friend of mine, Tags𝜗𝜚, you'll meet him, is actually rather good at dueling. So you better come prepared, or make sure that you're not selected against him. Defense Against the Dark Arts. And then, Defense Against the Dark Arts is a 2-hour course. So the first hour will be Professor Hackett, the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, explaining things, and the last hour will be a sort of free time to do duels, basically. Oh, don't worry, you're protected. Finished. You know what? The first thing I'm going to do when I get to Hogwarts is buy you a quill, right? So, then there's free time, and then there's dinner. Dinner, of course, you experienced. Oh, and then at 7... Oh, right, I forgot. You don't have to worry about getting hurt or anything. Professor Hackett, the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, will make sure that everyone stays unharmed. And if you simply would be willing to use spells that would send one to the hospital wing, you may be glad that you've never been there before. Well, let's say it won't stay with detention. Then, at 7 o'clock in the evening tomorrow, will be Dueling Club. Now, the Dueling Club is called Cross Wands. It is hosted by this first year named Lucan. Splendid little fellow, anyway. But this being is quite funny actually. But Lucan has made Cross Wands. So that's basically a dueling club, or one can go in pairs. So in 2 pairs or a single duel, one versus the other. It's for members only, but I'm sure that since entire Hogwarts is curious to hear about you being the new 5th year, that you might have a good chance of joining. Of course I've been there. You know, another friend of mine, Daniel, splendid little fellow, Daniel is a member too, and we normally go in pairs against Imelda. Of course, you don't know Imelda. Well, the talk I have and the talk I've heard about that woman. Imelda is a 5th year Slytherin. Daniel is a Slytherin too. So he has to sadly enjoy the comfort of her company. But anyway, do you mind if I just... Anyway, I want to have this finished, you know. I wasn't sorted into Ravenclaw for nothing. But Imelda is a girl. Well, I don't even sure if you're able to call it a girl. Well, you see, Daniel, that friend of mine, wants to be a part of the Slytherin Quidditch team. However, have you experienced Quidditch yet? Oh, you love it. Anyway, so Daniel wants to become a part of the Slytherin Quidditch team. Now, the team is full, but they are always looking for new members. So, Imelda, the Quidditch captain, arranged a trial. Now, and in this trial, they were instructed, or each and every one of us was instructed, to go through these hoops. So she conjured these little hula hoops in the air, and that one was to fly through. Now, no, for heaven's sake, I didn't try it. No, you don't have to see me on a broom. You know, I'm quite afraid of heights, and being on a broom isn't my best part. Well, anyway, so Daniel was ready to make his round, and Imelda was all over exaggerating and bragging on the fact that she was the best, and that no one could beat her, and that she was the best Slytherin captain that Slytherin has ever had, and that you know. So Daniel comes along, and Daniel's like, well, let me give it a try. Imelda's like, no, you won't even make it, and I don't remember her time. I think it was 1 minute and 42 seconds, perhaps. So Daniel gets on his broom, of course. I, as the supportive friend, stands by and watches, hoping for Imelda that he has a better time than her. But that day I had forgotten to put on my pocket watch, so I had nothing to time, only she had a timer. So Daniel returned. The look on Imelda's face, absolute fury, but he didn't make a better time than her. He had about 1 minute and 45 seconds, which is 3 seconds slower. Still, Imelda was absolutely furious and victorious at the same time. She was like, oh no, and she was so happy that she was the best Slytherin captain that we have ever had. But then Madeline comes in. No, another friend of mine, a Ravenclaw. You know, you'll meet her eventually. So Madeline comes in. The look on her face, she was furious. She walked to Imelda, she said, listen. Well, she used some quite inappropriate words, but I won't repeat those. She said, listen, I'm going to fly this course, and I'm going to show you that you are not who you think you are, and I pray you now that you have to stop this bragging upon that you're the best, because nobody likes you, such and such and such. So, Imelda, of course, is all like, nobody can defeat me. Madeline jumps on her broom, flies through the air. Daniel and I, once more, the supportive friends, were chatting along. Go on, Madeline, go on. Madeline came back and guess her time. 1:30. That's a new Hogwarts record for this year. Well, it could also be possible that Imelda changed the course a little bit for this year and last year's. I'm not quite sure what last year's record was, but at least for this year, until now, even though it has just begun, it's still a record, because there had already been a few, perhaps a pair of 20 people who had been contesting. Well, so anyway, Madeline has made a new record. And do you mind if I just put this back in my school bag? So, Imelda said, "It can't be true. You must have done something to your broom. Broom enhancement." Well, turns out, afterwards, she had her broom inspected by Madame Kagawa, the Quidditch teacher. And turns out there was nothing wrong with the broom. It was just a standard Hogwarts broom. So, Imelda was furious. She was so angry, she took her wand and said, "Right, if you think you're better than me, let's fight this right here, right now." But alas, there comes Professor Sharp, the potions professor. You meet him too, and separates the two. End of the pleasure. But there has been talk of her having a secret training spot somewhere around the castle. I mean, sometimes at night, I'm not sort of a people gazer, but I do see a lot of things happening around the castle. So, sometimes at night she sneaks away with her broom near the Quidditch pitch, but nobody knows where. And then she's gone for like 2 hours or something, and then she returns. Oh, I'm looking forward to the match on Saturday. Oh no, that's right. Quidditch was cancelled. It's ridiculous. I mean, Madeline told me Madeline's on the Ravenclaw Quidditch team. They're allowed to practice, but they aren't allowed to play matches. Yes, that's because of Professor Black, the headmaster. Ridiculous man, in my opinion, I think. You know, I'm not that good in history of magic, although I know a lot of headmasters of Hogwarts, and I know that Professor Black is certainly at the far, far bottom of the list of best headmasters. You'll have a lot of trouble with him if you ever do anything wrong, I say. No, you may be glad that you don't have any homework. Yet. Of course, where were we? Right, so the day after, on Tuesday, breakfast at 8 o'clock once more, and then potions class, and we're going to try the invisibility potion. If you would like to read beforehand, I've got a book here. No, that's the standard book of potions, grade 5. So you can read a little bit while you're listening to my whining. No, potions class invisibility potion. Now for the invisibility potion, I believe one needs a fluxweed stem. Was that a focus potion? Anyway, flaxweed stems are very hard to come by these days. Well, they've always been quite rare, but they're just so difficult to produce. I mean, you've got this plant, the flaxweed, and the stem of it must be chopped off, but it's hard as rock. You're out there with your knife, burning to the stem, absolutely impossible. And then it has to be chopped into very, very, very small things, very small bits. Oh wait, here it is. Ingredients. No, I was right. The flaxweed stem is for the focus potion. You'll learn that eventually. Here's the potions book. Then, an hour later, on 10 o'clock, is Ancient Magic Across the Highlands. Now, Ancient Magic is a extra course on history of magic, which is taken. Don't look so alarmed. I say, you're not familiar with having ghosts around you, are you? I thought so. Well, you'll learn eventually. Ancient Magic Across the Highlands. Now, lately there have been some investigations about these shrines, and there have been some reporters and also some inventors. I don't know if you're able to call them inventors. Anyway, they're doing research on so-called Merlin trials. They are these structures around the highlands, around the castle. Nobody's ever done anything with them before, but they say that it holds a specific power of ancient magic after solving a kind of puzzle. So Professor Binns, that hideous ghost, if you'd ever find yourself having trouble sleeping, you wouldn't mind taking Professor Binns' extra course. Well, ancient magic is, in this case, ancient magic is in this case a main course, but still, Ancient Magic Across the Highlands. Then 12 o'clock, lunch, and then 1 o'clock, care for magical creatures, handling nifflers and their practices. Now nifflers, nifflers are funny little fellows. There has been talk, the headmaster carries a niffler. There's been a lot of students and professors too that have been losing their valuables, like pocket watches and... Oh wait, perhaps that's where my pocket watch is off to. Another reason for you to hate Professor Black. Don't worry, you'll hate him eventually. Care for magical creatures, nifflers. Have you any idea what a niffler is? A niffler is this funny little black thing that... Yes, that one precisely. So, then we have free time. Free time from 3. So the Care for Magical Creatures course is from 1 to 3 o'clock. And then we have free time. And then 6 o'clock is dinner. Now, Wednesday, on 8 o'clock, breakfast. And then 9 o'clock, charms class, the disillusionment charm. Ooh. Now, 9 o'clock, charms class. We're going to learn Accio. Accio is quite a funny spell. I've tried it sometimes, you know. I've actually have got quite a funny story. So Daniel, that friend of mine, we were sitting in the Transfiguration courtyard. It was still quite cold, but anyway, and we were studying Accio because that was our homework. So before the holidays, we studied Accio, and now we're going to try it. So good luck for you with the new 5th year. And suddenly Daniel asks, George, what do you think will happen if you Accio on a human being? Well, I said, well, I don't know. So he stood up and said, well, let's give it a try. So he stood there, like, waiting for me to cast Accio. Well, I did. Basically, all his clothes and his tie jumped forward, and he went rolling over the ground towards my feet because his clothes simply thrashed themselves to the tip of my wand. Then, defense against the dark arts, dark detectors and magical defenses. Dark detectors, to be quite fair, I have no idea what it is they're talking about with dark detectors and magical defenses, but there's been a talk of a goblin rebellion or something. Anyway, there's been a lot of goblins lately. Oh. Yes. After lunch on Wednesday at 1 o'clock there is a field trip to Hogwarts planned. Now, don't forget that you need a form of permission. So you want to ask your parents or someone else for you to be able to go field trip to Hogsmeade. No, normally we don't, but I reckon since you're new, they'll still require that. Yes, normally it's from the 3rd year one can go to Hogsmeade. Oh, splendid village. Daniel and I normally go to the 3 Broomsticks. It's this small little inn, pub, restaurant thing, and I'm not sure what to call it anyway. They have excellent butterbeer. If you're there, try butterbeer. Well, in Hogsmeade, I would say you could catch up on some supplies, like a quill, for instance. I say, why don't you go with Sebastian? Or with the 4 of us? No, let's invite the entire squad. So, field trip to Hogsmeade, then 4 o'clock. Broom fright practice over and beyond the castle borders. Now that is with Madame Kagawa. And it's quite late, 4 o'clock, but still. Then 5 o'clock it will be finished, and 6 o'clock is dinner. And then on 7 o'clock is an alchemy workshop, which is optional. Now, whenever the schedule says optional, for me that would mean more free time. No. So, what more have we got to do? Or what more have I got to do? Am I right in saying that you met Professor Fig? And, do not mind me asking, are you able to answer a few questions of mine? You see, there has been quite a talk in Hogwarts about Professor Fig going on sort of mysterious voyages to distant lands to discover or research things that he is unwilling to talk about. Now, I was wondering what it is that he was researching. Perhaps you know, because he arrived with you, didn't he? ancient magic, not like the Merlin trials. But you would be willing to study ancient magic, wouldn't you? No, quite frankly, there are little to no books in the library. Unless one gets to the restricted section, of course. No, definitely not. No. I'm not someone that should go to the restricted section, at least not with strangers. If I would either go with Sebastian or Daniel. You aren't seriously going to ask Sebastian to go to the restricted section with you? Well, I'm quite sure they have a good number of books there about ancient magic. However, if you're going with Sebastian, don't say that I said so. Because portraits talk, portraits hear, and portraits see. And do watch out for Peeves. Oh, Peeves, glad you didn't meet him. Peeves is a funny little fellow. He's this poltergeist. Well, just stay out of reach for Peeves, right? I have quite a funny story, actually. I meet a fellow Ravenclaw of mine, obsessed with the stars. He's a bright boy, but he's always up the astronomy tower. He's got a telescope in his dormitory. Of course, thankfully, I don't share a dormitory with him, because he continues to talk about stars and astrology. Of course, I'm interested in astrology, right? Don't mind me. But someone that continues to talk about stars, please. So, I've heard he was up in the astronomy tower, and as he went down, Peeves came up the stairs and said, "Oh, Amid, you're just the one I wanted to talk to." So he said, "Amid, can you help me adjusting my telescope, because I can't see." So Amid and Peeves go up the astronomy tower, and there was Amid locked for about 24 hours. Yes, well, of course it was practically late at the evening when Peeves tricked him, and he was stuck there until the next course of astronomy. It was quite funny, actually. Right. Let me see if I have everything done. So, yes. Well, so when we get to Hogsmeade, you would want yourself a quill of your own. And I say tomorrow, before the start of the first class, perhaps you can join us on the Ravenclaw table. You can meet the entire club. You've got Daniel, you've got Madeline, you've got Lisa, you've got Robin, and Sebastian. So, I'm sure you'd like that. So, right. I'm finished. I'll see you around, 5th year.